that next year, that was 1994, 1995, I went to camp to work as a staff member, and that's where I met Debbie, and we started dating, and we've been dating ever since. We're both 15, and we've been together since then. And so that went on, and then we grew in the Army and everything else. And then when we were 16, we both really felt a call in our life towards Salvation Army officership. And so we were really excited. And we had a group of friends. It was like a generation of us that were good friends that all kind of felt that call in our life. And all of us were really excited. As soon as we were able to, let's do this. And so our time came. We graduated. It was getting close to graduation time in high school. And Debbie's like, maybe we're called to be good local officers, to be good members of a corps, good leaders, helping out any way we can. So I was like, gosh, and I really struggled with that for a while. And it was at wilderness camp again where I was out fishing with someone, and a pastor, and he told me, he said, God's not big into divorce. So he said, if this was the calling in your life, it'll be confirmed in your wife. And he said, if not, if that's not where you're supposed to be, then something else will reveal itself. So I said, all right. And so from that, I started going to school, and I got a computer job, and I was really doing well, and that really took off, and so I got a really good job, and a few years later I was working as a director at an IT outsourcing company, and my wife, we were getting ready to leave the Salvation Army at that point. That the church we were going to, there just wasn't much for our age group. It was a lot of kids and a lot of really old people, and then my wife and I, and it just really, we weren't getting what we needed out of church. And so the officers there really said that if you're not getting what you need out of this church, you need to go find another church where you are. And we were really close. We still are very close with them, but it was good pastoral advice. And so we're starting that. But the officers asked my wife to chaperone at a youth council, a teen retreat. And they didn't need chaperones. They just wanted to kind of get her and thought it'd be good for her. So she went, and that weekend, that Friday, before I left for the day, my boss told me that in 3 years I want to turn this company over to you. And I said, I don't have to work anymore. He said, my kids are set, their kids will be set. I don't need to work anymore. He said, I want you to be in charge of this place. And, and this is what I've always wanted. Like, this is great. And so on Sunday, when Debbie came back, I was at the officer's house waiting for her, eager to tell her this news. And as soon as she came in, it was like a movie. She's like, she had her news and I had my news, and I was like, all right, you go first. She said, now's the time to be Salvation Army officers. And I was like, what? I'm like, well, I don't want to tell you my news now. And it was really that moment that all the other stuff didn't really seem to matter anymore. And I had an old retired officer, a very wise man, tell me. He said, if you can do anything else, don't become an Army officer. And I thought, and then he said that and then walked away. I was like, what is that? I'm not smart enough for these little odd droppings of wisdom and then taking off. And I thought about it, and what it really meant was I couldn't do technically I could do my job. I could still had the skills. I could still do it. But my heart wasn't in it like it was on that Friday. On Monday morning, my mind was always somewhere else. And I couldn't do that job anymore. And that's where it was really confirmation. And then we said a lot of stuff. We said, well, if this is really meant to be, there's a lot of things that have to happen. I mean, we owned a house. We had 2 cars that needed to be sold. We had a lot of stuff that needed to be done. And every one of them, like we thought, we put our house on the market. We thought it was going to take a while to sell. It sold in like 2 weeks. And the money that we made off the sale paid off all of our debt. Within like $1,000, it paid off every bit of our debt, which was amazing. And that included the cars, credit cards, everything. And so all of that was kind of in one foul swoop taken care of. And then the last thing was my job. And in the computer field is when you give your notice, usually they'll tell you, all right, here's a check for 2 weeks' pay. Thank you for your time here. And just because of the amount of access you have to stuff, if anything comes up, they don't want to have to point the finger to you. And so I was getting ready to tell my boss, and I didn't want to tell him until we sold the house. I didn't want to risk him letting me go early. And I remember we were closing on a Monday. It was Friday, and I had asked for Monday off. And Friday I was just saying bye to him for the weekend. And he said, oh, I see you have Monday off. You guys going somewhere? What are you doing? I'm like, oh gosh, this is not how I wanted to tell him. Like, you can't lie to the guy. And I said, well, we're selling our house. He's like, what? He's kind of floored him. And I said, yeah. I said, we're closing on our house. He's like, do you have did you get something else? I'm like, no. And he's like, what? And so I went in and I told him, and I was really nervous, and I told him, and much to my shock, after I told him, his response wasn't, you need to leave. It was, I've been searching for something deeper in my life. Like, it turned into this amazing, like, ministry opportunity. And I ended up staying there up until like 2 months before I went into the seminary. And actually about a month, because I told him everything, and he was totally fine with it. And I told him that I'll stay on board as long as he'll have me. I said, I want to start searching now for my replacement, and just wanted to do things the right way. And so I mean, it was just a great, I mean, all of those obstacles that we kind of said that this is right, this has got to happen. I mean, every one of them, just like a checklist, were checked off. And then we went into training school. That's where we were.